Hello, everyone, and warm welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. We're a bit earlier this week. We will have one at the end of the week, fear not. But it is 3 days of the Dante Festival at York, so we thought we'd preview the first two for you. And in our weekend pod, we'll also incorporate the best of Friday's action. That'll also take in the Lockinge on Saturday, etc. So there's plenty to get stuck into this week. Joined by Steve Jones, by Michael DC, and by Sam Turner, the original Take That Matchbook crew. The band is back. Before we say, in fact, we're not going to say hello to everyone because you know who they are. But before we get stuck into the previews, the first 2 days, let me remind you about Insights, insights.matchbook.com. That'll be up later on today, and it'll have a recap of all the best bets that the guys have put up. If you're liking our content, you're watching on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for free. And whatever your preferred podcast app is, if you're listening on the podcast, then please do subscribe on there and give us a 5-star review. There'll be timestamps for you for each race and each day. Have a look in the description in whatever medium you are watching or listening to this on. And we've also got the £25 free bet for you. So we're bringing that back in. That is a chance for anyone to win a £25 free bet with Matchbook. Just comment on Twitter or YouTube with your nap of the Dante Festival, and a winner will be picked at random, not pricked, picked at random from all the entries that come in. So that's your nap of the Dante Festival. A winner will be picked at random. And finally, early pricing will be available for the Wednesday. So we're going to see the early prices there. For the Thursday, the exchange will fill, but I'll just be quoting those prices to you, so you won't see them. Obviously, there's more liquidity that goes into the exchange the nearer the event you get to. So, I mean, it can pay to play early, or it can pay to hang on, but you are generally going to get better odds with the exchange, with the Matchbook exchange. For example, Cachet, who was tipped up on the pod by Charlie Post to win the 1,000 guineas, went off at an industry price of 17.0, but went off at 21.0 on the Matchbook exchange. So you're generally going to be getting better prices on the exchange. But the closer you play to the off time, the more the liquidity fills up. That's how it works. Right, the 150, we're going to get stuck straight in. This is the 150 on Wednesday. It is the Jorvik handicap. Prices are as follows. Gassi is 3.55. Global Storm is 7.2. Noble Masquerade 9.6. 8.2 Forza Orta. 8.6 Sam Cook. 8.8 Just Fine. And then we do get stuck into the bigger prices. All right. A bit of support for Forza Orta. Steve, first of all, make your case.
Is a really strong fancy. I was toying winning place, but I think seeing he's only 8.2, was it on there? I think he has been a bit bigger, certainly last night. So I'm going win only because I think he's got a sensational chance. If you go back to last season, he started off very consistently. And he won at Hamilton, beating Dr. Parnassus, which wouldn't be the worst form at all. And it's the way he travels that gets me. He sometimes looks like he's hitting a flat spot, but then comes onto the bridle. And this season, I thought he's looked improved, because that form of his third at Thirsk on his comeback run, albeit on soft ground, and he's got his better form is probably on a faster surface, but he's got no real preference. But that form, when you consider that he was only a length or so behind Get Shirty, who went on to finish second, and then the horses either side of him and have both won since. So it's really solid form, including Juan de Montalban, who won at the weekend for Kevin Philippart de Foy. So that's solid form. And then he came out last time at Hamilton and won really nicely again. He just had to be pushed into the bridle, but then picked it up again like a horse that relaxes through the early part of the race. And that's a good thing. And I just think he's a horse that's going forward. And I think the drop back in distance won't be any problem, because there's going to be a fast pace on there. Zabeel Champion, one of those that likes to go from the front. So, yeah, Forza Orta down the bottom of the weights for me.
You mentioned Kevin Philippart de Foy. I forgot to congratulate you on your double at the weekend, including the Victoria Cup winner at 17.0. So well done. Jonesy was banging form and banged in a couple of big price winners. Sam Turner.
Hi, Tom. Yeah, good to see that Matchbook have embraced diversity in racing with us four back on. On with this first at York. Garci.
Hair diversity, I think.
Yeah, that's about all. Garci was the one horse I was thinking, right, I'm going to take this on. It's won a couple of all-weather races. It won a race at Chester, which probably fell apart on bad ground. And then you flick through the entries and see he's got the Hardwick entry. And you think, and the stable won this last year with Il Arab. Similar profile. And off a mark of 94, he makes a fair bit of appeal, given, they are a very, very shrewd outfit, the Haggis bunch. And he's nicely drawn. He looks as though the conditions of the race should be absolutely fine for him. If they get a couple of passing showers, that should be fine for him as well. So he was certainly my starting point in the race. Rather an original selection, but he's obviously a very nicely bred horse from a top stable that, know what it takes to win a race of this nature, and indeed did it 12 months ago. I will also bet Forza Auto for all the reasons that Steve's outlined. He won't mind if they get a little bit of rain in the Naysmar as well, just take a bit of the sting out of the ground. Like the way that he's progressing, he looks tough, durable, a horse that travels quite well. It took a while to get on top at Hamilton last time, but I just like his attitude and his manner of racing and the way that he goes through his races. So I couldn't let him unbacked. I think he'll probably bounce out a little bit from the Matchbook price. I wouldn't be surprised to see a fair few people getting stuck into Garci, given his entry and given his profile. So I'll probably back him at the short end of the market and have a little saver on Forza Auto as well.
And biggest price of the lot is going up for DC.
Yeah, my selection, I'm going a bit safe. I'm going with Dark Jedi. I tipped him the last day at Newmarket behind Kemhand. But that was based on his form. He was run behind Enemy at Musselburgh in April. Enemy obviously came out and franked that form the next time. Now, Dark Jedi is obviously dropping back in trip 2 furlongs here. I think that will probably be in his favour. His best form is over 1.5 miles. He has great course form. And again, he's 14.0 there. And you're never really going to go too broke back in Timmy's to be horses at York. So I'll have a little win place betting him.
And you've mentioned the ground, a few of you. I mean, just to let everyone know, in case you haven't seen, it's good ground at the moment. There is a bit of rain around on Wednesday, but otherwise not a huge amount around other than that. I don't think it'll be massive swings from what we have currently, but we'll see how much they get on Wednesday. Let's kick on to the 150. Let's kick on to the 225 before we have done the 150. This is the Churchill Tyres handicap. I love a sprint handicap at York, but they are flipping difficult quite often. Nomadic Empire is 7.6, 9.2 for Bergerac, one of Steve's favourite programmes. Mr. Wagyu is 12.5, as is Woven. Count d'Orsay 13.0. Assad Jumeirah is 16.5, 15 for Mackinac. Bielsa, I shouldn't have got rid of him, should they? It's 15.5, it's 16 and bigger the rest. Okay. If you can, in your case, just touch on the draw if that is really a part of your case, because I always find it interesting. Sam Turner.
Yeah, I usually like to be drawn, I would say, middle to far side here, and that's where the pace looks. If you just have a quick look at the map, Boogie Time, Just Frank, sort of out of 3 and 4, Abraham Gold out of 7. Hopefully that'll give a good toe into the race for Nomadic Empire, who's got a bit of previous here. Didn't shape too badly, I don't think, on his reappearance. Looks as though he's sort of been laid out for a race of this nature. I thought that run over 5 at Ripon was a nice tee up for this. He's an unoriginal selection because he's been well found by the market, which is understandable given his profile, but he's very versatile ground-wise, likes York, which I think is a great starting point. He's drawn amongst the speed, and he's from a stable that often target these sort of races. They've got a really good record. If you can have a good record in York sprints, then the Amara team certainly have. So Nomadic Empire, winning place for me.
Nomadic Empire for you. Mihal Deasy, your winning place as well.
Yeah, I'm going back to the well with this horse as well. It's Strike Red. I tipped him up again at Newmarket a couple of weeks ago there. I think it was the first day of the Guineas meeting. and he was raced at Blackrod one, and he completely missed the break. Now this is kind of the second time this season that he has just reared on the stalls and given up a few lengths. But in his seasonal debut behind Gale Force Moya, he was extremely eye catching. Now he's drawn in the middle here. He's drawn in box 8. If he can get out of the stalls, I think he's definitely well handicapped. And again, you're getting a big enough price for a horse that definitely has a few pounds in hand. And obviously the stalls issue is an issue, but if he gets out, I think he can definitely run very well. And he's about 18.0, so I'd have a little win place betting him again.
Tell you, we're all looking low. I think it's 6, 8, and 9 the stalls. Steve Jones.
I'm 7, I think. No, 9. 9. Yeah.
Satellite delay. I don't know about anything else.
I couldn't get the mute off. Yeah, it's interesting. My horse is, you mentioned Bergerac. My horse is named after the beef farmer in Bergerac, Mr. Wagyu, who has got course form, having been touched off over this course and over this course and distance last summer, and he generally runs well in these big field sprints. He won the Silver Stewards Cup, or the consolation of the Stewards Cup, and then he ran 3rd in the Air Gold Cup. And he's a horse that likes to be on the front end, which suits York. He's got an ideal draw. I think he'll just blast out on the front end, and he'll give it a hell of a go to keep going. I think he's got a really good chance, and he should be at his peak now. He's had that comeback run last time behind Black Rod, where a few of the others were in it, which wasn't a bad return to action at all. So I think he should be spot on. So Mr. Wagyu for me.
Mr. Wagyu for you. I take it everyone's will and place in the nature of that race. Yes. Okay, that's the 6 furlong Churchill Tyres.
Tom, can I just quickly make a point on Strike Red? I was lucky enough to see him in the flesh first time up at Newmarket, and he looked exceptionally well. Looked a real, well, not a winner in waiting, but he just looked a quality individual just to keep on side this year. And I was going to tip him at Newmarket last time as well. He's just stuck on the wing a little bit. I think he's a really interesting horse going forward. I've got my slight reservations, sorry, Dees, whether York will suit him because they can be off and away there. But I think if he went back to Ascot or somewhere like that, I think he's definitely a horse that's capable of winning a nice race this year.
Yeah, I backed himself in Final Song in that Newmarket handicap, and both of them gave up 10 lengths at the start. So that was it for the day.
Game gone.
Yeah, I was with Final Song there as well. It's great when that happens, isn't it? Just like, oh, good. Happy. Right. Let's move on to the 3 o'clock then. So this is the 1895 Duke of York Clipper Logistics Stakes. So Group 2 over the 6. We've got 11 in here. And very interestingly, Dragon Symbol is with a new team. Roger Varian, David Egan rides. 4.7. Minzal is 5.0. It's 6.6 for Happy Romance. Garrus and Emirati Anna are 12s. Emirati Anna 12.0. Rohan 13, as is the Dream. Spycatcher 15. Leave it there. And we've got a consensus here between Sam and DC. So go on, DC. You can make the case first of all.
Yeah, the one I've gone for is Minzal. Now he looked a really good horse in his 2-year-old season, but he didn't really appear. He didn't appear last season until the very back end. Ran twice at Ascot in October and finished second both times. It is marvelous, and then he was second at on Champions Day to create a force. Now, a few things with him, I suppose. But first thing we have to look at is Owen Burrows is actually flying. His horses are all running very, very well. You have to take that into account. And I think that there's plenty of progression to come with this horse. I think we haven't really seen the best of him yet. And the fact that he's out early this year now means he's obviously fitting well. Maybe the little break last year would have helped him strengthen up a small bit. I think he's absolutely rapid. And even if it's just good ground, I think that'll suit him down to the ground. So I think he's a nice bet at 5. Was it 5.0? You said it was.
I would be lying if I said I could absolutely remember, but I think it was about that. Yeah, I mean, was second in the betting. Yes, confirmed. 5.0. Look at that. 4.7 is Dragon Symbol.
Yeah, we'll take the 5.0 win only.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, I haven't got a lot to add. 3 of Owen Burrows' last 4 runners have all won, and won well, actually. So the stable really hit the ground running. He's obviously down on numbers a little bit with the Shadwell operation, resizing where they were sending their horses, but he's made a really bright start to the season. Minzal always strikes me as a horse that probably wouldn't take a lot of getting ready either. Quite a natural, buzzy horse with plenty of pace. And if you just run the tape back on that Gimcrack performance, he travelled like the absolute wrath of God through that race and put it to bed with a sharp turn of foot. As Dees has pointed out, he's run 2 very, I'd say, satisfactory races last year as well. So there doesn't seem to be any dimming of the flame there. I think first time out back at York, nice middle draw as well. I think there's plenty of positives for him. So, yeah, 5.0 for me.
Okay, and Steve, you're looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I've always liked Dragon Symbol. I thought he was quite remarkable last season that he only made his debut in March, and 2.5 months later, he was running in group races and he won the Commonwealth Cup, albeit he got it taken off him in the stewards' room. Then he was running in all the big races. He was second to Starman in the July Cup, second to Suesa at Goodwood, third in the Nunthorpe. And I just thought this season, I think the switch of stables, Archie Watson to Roger Varian, and he's going from one good trainer to another. So I don't really see that as a positive or a negative particularly. But I just think this season he has the potential to be champion sprinter. I think he's very, very, very good.
Okay. Some pretty solid cases made there in that sprint. I think it's a very good looking deep sprint. The 335 is less deep, for perhaps want of a better expression. Prices are as follows.
Shallow.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what it is. Gosh, imagine if I actually got paid to present things. Emily Upjohn is 1.88. Life of Dreams 3.55. The Algarve 7.4. Luna Dorada 15.5. Qingxi is 21.0. Okay, no bet for you, Dees. I'll just leave you out. Emily Upjohn has got a lot of weight behind her claims because of that performance last time. Sam, would you back her at that price, 1.88?
Yeah, that's. I'm not sure this is quite as shallow as perhaps 1 or 2 people have you believe. I think there's a little bit of strength in depth here, not in numbers, admittedly, but Life of Dreams looked a really nice prospect at Newbury, the way she went through that race. If you watch the Algarve's win at Galway on horrible ground last year as well, she's a real strong stayer. I think she'll be a very talented filly this year. And we all know what they produced in the race last year, these connections. And I'm quite a big fan of Luna Dorada as well. I can't let her going back to whatever price she is, 15.0, 17.0. She's actually got York experience. I really like the way she went through that race as well at the back end last year. Admittedly, it was on soft ground. She's going to face vastly different conditions tomorrow. But I do think she's a really talented filly. And the Beckett team have done well with their trialists so far this spring. Obviously, Westover winning at Sandown. So I think she's a really, really tall price. But I was present to see Emily Upjohn win in the flesh at Sandown. Liked the manner of the performance. Liked her sort of composition, really, as a filly. She looked a big, strong, robust filly. Really enjoyed making the running that day. And I think York will suit her ideally. She's probably a bit too tight for me to bet. I'm not really betting at those sort of prices these days, those thin prices. But I think she's got a fair bit of class. Not sure what she beat at Sandown. That would be the only question mark. But something has come out of the race from the Gosden team and won since. And that was a very, very impressive winner at Kempton. So at least the form's had a little bit of a boost. And she needs to win this to sort of validate her claims for the Oaks. But whether she's a bet really at 5 to 6 or not, I tend to probably sit tight and take a little bit of a chance with Luna Dorada. We don't know how good she could be, and just at the prices, she looks a bit of a value play.
Okay, and Steve, Life of Dreams, interesting enough for you?
It's price-based, really. I think the favourite is just too short, considering Life of Dreams was very impressive on her debut last month in a race that is tended. It's only a Newbury maiden, but it tends to throw up smart horses. Starcatcher won it a few years ago before going on to win the Irish Oaks and a few other Group 1s. So the pedigree is there. It points to Life of Dreams being a really nice filly. And if that's the case, although I'm not a massive fan of backing horses one run into a group race, this is a race for inexperienced horses. So I'm willing to take that chance on Life of Dreams just at the prices, small stakes.
Okay, I sort of had my mind changed a bit about the filly at the top of the betting being a good thing. I think there's interesting cases against her. I'm more interested in the race now than I probably was before hearing your guys' thoughts on it. Let's move on to the 4:10. So the last race we're previewing on Wednesday. Sambaru, 7 furlong handicap is 2.4. Mojo Maker is 7.2. Fast and Loose, 6.2. Mojo Maker is 7.2. The Cookstown Cafu is 8.4. 10.0. Dayman, and I'll leave it there. Bet from everyone, and it's the Team Steam, which is Sambaru. Go on, DC, make the case.
Yeah, look, I saw this horse in debut. It was Frankie Dettori went up to Salisbury for the ride. It was the one ride, and it was his first ride up there in years apparently, and just kept an eye on it during the day. It was absolutely smashed in the betting and won well. So we knew there was something good about this horse, and I just saw him rock up here again. Like, he looked really good the last time, and I know he's a skinny price, but this should be well within his capabilities. So we'll just keep it simple. Frankie and John Gosden.
There you go. I just to correct you, Frankie definitely went down to Salisbury. Definitely. It's like, yeah.
What about if he was holidaying?
It's over to Salisbury from where I'm sitting, but we're not going to.
Yeah. Be like a Dubliner going up to Cork. But that wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, but you say don't the tip, don't you? Don't tip rarely.
Out of where? Right. Yeah. Anyway. Giles says Sambaru is terrible value, Steve.
Well, it is short, but it's interesting that he's in a handicap second time. He was my horse to follow for this season. Racing TV asked us to put one horse up, and he was mine. Because on that debut at Yarmouth last season, I just so impressed with him, the way he overcame a slow start and was way on top of the line, and the forms worked out well. And like Dee said, he still looked a bit inexperienced at Salisbury. He's more to come. I think he'll win this handicap, and then I think he's still in the St James's Palace, the Group 1. So if he wins this, they'll have options at Royal Ascot. But I think the Jersey Stakes be ideal for him, go up to a Group 3. But I've got no doubt that this will also be running in Group 1s later in the season. And if that's the case, he's going to win this handicap. He's very short, but he's going to win.
I mean, it's nothing strange or nothing odd about John Gosden, Sam, looking at a handicap mark and thinking, well, we'll do that en route to group races.
Yeah, he tends to be a little bit more dismissive of handicap marks for the fillies if he can slide them into a group race and try and enhance their value that way, getting a bit of black type. But yeah, he might as well exploit a mark of 88. I mean, the good thing about Sambaru is he won when a lot of John's colts, 3-year-old colts, were just looking as though they needed the run a little bit and were disappointing a touch. And he won in that little spell, that 2 or 3 week spell early spring, where, you know, they were just struggling to find their feet. And he was a very cosy winner. He was well backed in the market. You got the feeling that his homework was sort of replicated on the track. And I thought Frankie Dettori gave him a beautiful ride that night, just educated him, just got him to win, got a confidence builder into him. Now, this is going to be a different test for him. You know, he's moving into a handicap against horses with a fair bit more experience. 1 or 2 of them have been around York, the likes of the Cookstown Cafu, who could be an each-way alternative to Sambaru if you wanted to play that way. You know, the fact that he's got good York experience, he makes the running, he'll be on the front end, that should suit. He might be a horse I'll have a look at if he drifts to a fair price, if the money does continue to come for Sambaru. But as Steve rightly pointed out, he's still in the St James's Palace. His breeding, his pedigree, his profile suggests that the sort of 2.5 or 2.44 or whatever is available at the moment might well shorten a little bit further. And he's also already coped with a bit of juice in the ground as well as he did at Yarmouth. So if they do get 1 or 2 showers heavier than those that are forecast, he should be capable of accepting those as well. So looks nicely drawn in forward. There's not a lot not to like about his chance.
There's 2.4 at the moment is Sambaru, 2.4 for that race. Okay, that is Friday done. Try again. That is Wednesday done because it's the middle of the week. Let me remind you about the ongoing offer. So it's a sign-up offer, £30 welcome offer, money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. It is for new customers only, and use the bonus code INSIGHTS30 to take advantage of this. You place your first bet. If it loses, Matchbook will refund your stake as a free bet up to £30. Full terms and conditions on the Matchbook website. 18+. Be gamble aware. If you are listening to this or watching this, you don't have a Matchbook account, it's well worth taking advantage of because it's a £30 free bet basically if your first bet loses, and that first bet you're likely to be taking advantage of better odds than with a sportsbook given the nature of the exchange. Right, 6th race we're going to preview. We're going to the first race on Thursday. It is a handicap over 5 furlongs, 13 in here. Not easy to solve by any stretch, and it's very open as you might expect. So currently you've got 7.0 Russell, 7.5 course and distance Lover Copper Knight. Mountain Peak is 9.0. 11.0 is Digital. Bedford Flyer is 12.0, as is J-Well, and then the prices do get a little bit bigger. Bedford Flyer shout then. Steve Jones.
My form book just crashed then, sorry. Bedford Flyer, I think, is he's well suited to the track. He's got a good chance. It's going to be a hugely open race. It's those at the top of the market, the likes of Russell and a few of the others have got solid chances. But I like Bedford Flyer. He won. He beat Nomadic Empire. Made all the running over this course and distance last year. He actually ran in the Nunthorpe. I mean, he's not up to that level. But he had good form last season. He backed it up. He was only beaten ahead by Mountain Peak at Ascot later in the season. And I think after 2 runs this year, he should be spot on. And you want to completely ignore the last time at Ripon because he reared as he started, as the gates opened and he was squeezed out as well. So he had no chance there. But back to his best form, Bedford Flyer he's certainly got the pace for this course and distance, and you should make them all go.
Okay, interesting. No one going for Russell. You're at the top of the betting with one of yours, Sam, which is Copper Knight.
Yeah, so with a heavy heart, really, I take on Russell. I mean, I think he's 3 from 3 from James Doyle as well, and landed a good punt for the boys at Goodwood last time. So, yeah, he's a difficult horse to leave alone, Russell. I'm just wondering whether he might just be isolated a little bit stand side. I saw more pace with the likes of Fine Wine out of stall 2, Copper Knight 7, Mountain Peak 8, maybe just middle to far side again. But yeah, I'd have to really respect Russell. I've stayed loyal to Copper Knight. I mean, he's talking about great signings in the Premier League. What about this lad for £5,000? Back in the day, I think he's won 235,000 now in prize money. You'd be a bit choked if you'd sold him, and he's won the last 2 renewals of this race as well. So he looks as though he's been teed up for a third go. I think he was knocked about on his comeback, and that was just a nice little pipe opener for today. Hopefully, he'll go close to landing the hat trick. I thought the other horse that was a little bit overpriced, I think about 11.0, was Digital, who has got good form here. He's in good form in the spring. He's drawn next to loads of speed. Kevin O'Ryan often targets these sort of handicaps as well. Kevin Stock riding pretty well at the moment. So I thought at 11.0, I'd have to have a bit on him. So probably a split stakes approach for me in this race.
And your shot, Dees, is biggest a lot, 15.0 for Alligator Alley.
Yeah, I'm tipping a possible non-runner here now because he was pulled out of Chester there last week just because of the ground. And if there was a lot of rain on Wednesday, he might not run. But I'll make the case in there for him. So Alligator Alley, he's moved to David O'Mara from Joseph O'Brien. This is going to be his second run after Windsor. He actually has course form. He won at York in August 2019. He beat Dr. Simpson in a sprint. He actually he ran 3 times over in that season. Now he kind of tailed off a bit after that. He went over to the state, he ran an ace, and then he just didn't really place again after that. Maybe the sponge was squeezed a bit too much for him. he's had a nice long break now. He's been gelded, and again he's moved to David O'Mara. He had a little pipe opener on the all-weather behind Tone de Bruyne. That should have brought him on a bit. Like he's if they can get him back running to a decent level, he should definitely be well handicapped off 95. And again, he's a big price, but he may not run if there's too much rain from him. I think he wants it at least good ground, possibly good form. Besides him, I think Digital would have been my other choice. So if Alligator Alley doesn't run, I'd probably back Digital. Although I think Digital might be a bit of a 4.5 furlong horse. He gets chinned a few times, over 5. He just doesn't stay. So hopefully he can sort that out. He's a nice horse as well.
Okay, that's a look at the opening sprint on the Thursday. 2:25 is a Middleton. We've just got 6 in it, this Group 2. I think it's a really interesting contest with Thunderkiss, the Irish Raider, at 3.5. And then a point bigger is last year's second in the Musadora to Snowfall, Noon Star, who won the Nottinghamshire Oaks on reappearance. Ville de Grasse is 5.5. Forbearance, for Sir Michael Stout. Forbearance, another Irish Raider, is 7.0. 9.0 is Lilac Road, and Aristia is the outsider of the bunch at 21.0. And we've got 3 different horses going up. I would have agreed with you, Dees, with Noon Star.
Yeah, I was very close to putting up Thunderkiss because Jar Lyons doesn't send horses over to the UK unless he thinks they have a real chance. And there's not much between them in the price. But I think Noon Star's form is probably just better. She's running better races. And again, she got within 3.25 lengths of a Snowfall last year. There wasn't any horse that can say that. And I thought the stout horses weren't really winning first time out this year. And she won. No, she had to battle to win it, but she won at Nottingham beating Technique. I thought that was a good race. She had to put it out of the fire to get there, and she stayed on. Step up and trip, I think, it's a small step up trip, but I think the extra half furlong won't be a bad thing for her. And again, she's a fine price, so I'm happy to stick with her. Hello,
Tom gone.
Tom seems to be gone.
I'll have to take over these.
I will. So, which one of you wants to go next? So you shout away there, Sam. Give us your.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah. I apologise. Did you make your case for Noon Star, Dees?
I did. It was a very good one as well.
Go on then, Sam.
I thought this was a terrific little race, but a horrid little race for punting, to be honest. I can't remember the last time I saw a Group 2 and Sir Michael Stout ran 2 in it. It's quite a rare occurrence. And the lineup for this race is quite strange in a lot of respects because, as Dees was saying, Ger Lyons doesn't bring too many over to the UK to run. Forbearance, course winner, obviously, from her win last year, is dropping back in trip. Is that a little bit of a question mark? But representing a stable who just starting to strike some form, Jessica Harrington. So you've also got a course and distance winner in there with Aristia. So it's a really trappy race for me. So I've ended up with Lilac Road just at sort of 9.0. Just watching that race at Newmarket last time, the Dahlia Stakes, she made a mid-race move and was sort of level with the winner, Dream Loper, and also Ville de Grasse, and looked as though she was going to be very dangerous late on. It just looked as though there was a lack of condition that just caught her in the last sort of 10, 15% of the race, really. I think going back to a flat track, Tom Marquand can settle her. 10 furlongs around York should be ideal on a flat track on decent ground, providing they don't get the rain. And I think she might just be a bit of a value play at 9.0 in a race where I can't make too much of the head of the market. I can't really decide whether Thunderkiss dropping back in trip is a bet. I was really impressed with her in Cork the last day, and I really like Noon Star from last year, even though she didn't quite realise the potential that she showed early on in the year at Weatherby. So I'll just take a bit of a chance with William Haggis's mare or filly, Lilac Road, at a big price.
And Steve, you're with the outsider of the 2 stouty ones.
Yeah, I don't think there's much between them in the betting. Is there? Ville de Grace. Yeah, I thought Ville de Grace was the bet, to be honest. I thought this was all pretty straightforward. It probably won't turn out that way, but I think she's typical. You say, typical Michael Stout filly, and she is that. She came good in towards the back end of last season. She finished third to Saffron Beach at Sandown in a Group 3, and that's great form because obviously Saffron Beach went on to win the Group 1, so it was better form than your standard Group 3, and she then took off and won her next 2 starts, and on a return to action was only beaten a whisker by Dream Loper when I think she'll come on a bit for that run. She was ridden more prominently than she was last season. I think the return to a mile and 2 would definitely help her. And I just think this track and her profile suggests that she's going to improve again. And that would put her right there and make her the one to beat, in my opinion.
I love the idea that I genuinely like this is a straightforward contest. I like that confidence. Ville de Grasse for Jonesy. The 3 o'clock is a mile handicap. It's the Hambleton. 15 runners over the mile. Really good deep race. And we've got a few different ones going up. Let me give you the prices first of all. So Isla Kai is at the top of the betting at 7.0, 8.0 for Hort Zadar. Bless Him is 11.0, as is Brunch, as is Lightning Company, Trey Floor, Radana, Cruyff Turn. Then we get into the bigger prices. All right, a couple for you, Sam. So take it away with yours.
Yeah, I very shrewdly haven't played anti-post here, and the 2 horses I fancy a little bit of shortened quite significantly. But I really respect Isla Kai here. If he's allowed to bowl along in front as he did last time in that Newbury handicap, I think he's got a big chance. But he's become short enough in the market now. And if he does get mired at the head of affairs, that might just set it up for 1 or 2 closers. Brunch ran in this race last year, was just touched off by Kinran, which was a bit unfortunate because I backed Brunch quite heavily. And he went off a 7-2 chance off a mark of 101. Now he's up 3 from that mark, but he's almost available to bet at 3 times the price, which I can't quite understand. He ran one of his best career races in a group race at Newmarket last time. Admittedly, the race could have worked out a little bit better, but it was still a really good performance. Unfortunately for the Dodds team, the handicapper inched him up a pound for that, which is a bit harsh. But anyway, he ran really well. It was a fairly good time. Master of the Seas impressed when winning it. But I think Brunch back on a home turf for him, York, a track that he runs really well at, and with the Dodds horses in really good order this spring, I think he makes a fair bit of interest at 11.0. And the other one I'll take a little bit of a chance with is La Trinidad, for whom Tom Marquand looks a really eye-catching booking. He was absolute York regular. He was there more than William Derby last year. And, I like the fact that he's got great track experience and hopefully he'll be wound up first time. He has got a fairly decent record fresh. I think he has won off a break before now. Very versatile ground-wise, trip-wise, whether it be 7, 8 or 9. And I just like the Marquand booking. So I'll take a bit of a chance with him at 13.0 as well.
Yeah, 11.0 Brunch, 13.0 for La Trinidad. Steve, you're looking at a bigger price, 21.0.
Yeah, I'm going to go winning place on a horse called Ataza, who was a real progressive 2-year-old a couple of years ago, including when winning a nursery at this track at the Ebor meeting. And then last year, there must have been problems because Ataza didn't make his return until the Royal Ascot when he ran in the Britannia Stakes and was way down the field, tailed off, in fact. But next time at Doncaster, after a 3-month break, which suggests there had been problems, that he ran very well behind Modern News, who, of course, came out this year and won the Spring Cup at Newbury. And Ataza has run once this season at Newmarket, which I thought was quite promising, was held up, which isn't always the best thing to do at Newmarket, and got quite tired, and I thought would come on an awful lot for that run. And if that is the case, I think Ataza is very interesting, considering he's likely to get his a fast pace to aim at, which he likes. And if he can just creep into it, I think everything is perfect. And 21.0, it's a winning place sort of price. I'm rather take a chance on him than go with some of the ones towards the top of the market.
Okay, and conversely, DC is looking at the top of the market with Isla Kai.
Yeah, this was the race I had the least amount of time to go through because we had a meeting just before this that ran over. So Isla Kai was one I had picked out anyway. If you just look at him last year, very progressive. But the race he finished 4th in last time, he tried to make all, but he was picked off close to the end by Rogue Bear, Migration, and Modern News. Now, I think those 3 horses are all going to end up rated significantly higher than they already are by the end of the season. So it wasn't bad for him. As Sam said, it's good course form, good solid horse. Should come on another bit this year. I know Nigel Tinker likes a winner at York, and he has actually been backed in the last hour. He was 9.0 when I was up to him earlier. Now he's into about 7. So there's a bit of money coming from. Not really a win place bet. I might just go win only with him. But this is a very open race. There's a good few in there I would have liked to have more of a look at.
Yeah, he's short at the top of the top. 3:35 is the Dante. The feature, the meeting, 10.5 furlongs. And Sir Michael Stout's looking for his 7th win in the race. He has the favourite, which is Desert Crown. His first into Carlton House, mind you, a good few years ago. And he's 3.25. Magisterial is 4.0. El Bodegan is 6.0. Massacada 12.0. Bigger prices thereafter. Has everyone got a play in this? Yeah. Okay, well, all right, Dees, I'm coming straight back at you. Why are you so against the Fav?
Well, it was more of a price thing when he was with Dex this morning. He was shorter than I think he was 2.5 or 2.67 or whatever.
Bubba agrees with you. Bubba 1407, massive lay, he says.
Yeah, like this is a pure just a public price because he's been back so heavily for the Derby. But there's nothing in his form to suggest that he should be such a short price for this race. So it was mainly a price thing. Like if he was going to be going off at about less than 3.0, I would lay him just on the hope that there would be one horse in this that is better than him, which is, I think there's a fairly good chance of that. So that was my angle, but he's after drifting out to 3.25 now. Again, I'd still nearly be willing to take him on at that, but not at much bigger prices. I'm not rich enough to lay them at 4.0.
Okay. Giles says Magisterial looked just that at Leicester. Magisterial, and Magisterial is the vote of Steve.
Yeah, it's again. I want to take the favour on purely on price. He was one of the horses that I thought was well worth following this season, Desert Crown. But that one win coming into a group race where taking on horses with a lot more experience. I mean, Magisterial's had 3 runs, but a lot of them have had 5 or 6 runs. That's not an easy thing to do. And I was impressed with Magisterial last time, and I think he's been brought along nice and slowly. He's got an exceptionally good pedigree, being a half-brother to Lily Langtree, who's a dual Group 1 winner, and various other smart horses. So the pedigree's there. He's got the right trainer in John and Thady, his son Gosden, and that performance at Leicester last time suggested he was well up to a crack at a race like this, and he could poke himself into the Derby frame. And he also likes to race prominently, which is certainly a help at York, as long as he's not taken on too badly. But there's no suggestion he has to make the running. But yeah, he's got a nice profile, and I think the fact that Desert Crown has been so heavily well backed, it just makes Magisterial a bigger price than he should be.
Okay. You haven't had a go of you yet, Sam. Apologies. El Bodegan for James Ferguson.
Yeah, just to point on what the lads are saying, really. I could almost see Magisterial going off favourite here in front of the stout horse, just because the Frankie factor, the fact he's had a run. And I think sometimes with these anti-post punts, they get to such a short price because everybody jumps on the bandwagon a little bit that it has to bounce out, really. And Layers on track might look to take on something like this that's just had the one run at Nottingham on soft ground. Impressive as he was, the market didn't suggest that he was going to be a 5-6 length winner. And I think there's all the horses that have come out subsequently, there's been 18 runs between them and not one of them have won. There's been a couple finished second, but there's been no winners out of the race yet, just to give it a little bit of a boost or enhancement. So that would be a little bit of concern. And the fact that he's taking on horses that have got a good bit of experience. As the lads have pointed out, Magisterial, 3 runs, looked quite professional at Leicester and had a good way of going through the race. And I think the same with El Bodegan. I mean, this is a Group 1 winner who's running in the Dante, who is 3rd favourite. And is that because he's James Ferguson? Is that because he's had a few runs and we think we know where we are with him? He beat Stone Age, obviously, in the Saint-Cloud race, the Criterium. Now, I know that might not have been Stone Age's track and there was excuses made for him, but Goldspur was third. He's finished placed in a Sandown trial this year. Buckaroo was fourth, who looks a really good horse. And then there's a couple of French horses further down the list who've gone on and won subsequently as well. So the form is stacking up pretty well. He's an uncomplicated horse who probably bowl along in front. There might be a slight question mark about fitness, but the Ferguson horses seem pretty ready to go first time out this year. So with Danny Muscat on, a rider that looks as though he's improved, I'd say 10 to 12 pounds in the last couple of years. I think he's a really, really talented pilot. I think at 6.0, I'm more than happy to take a chance with him.
And Shane, I hope we've answered your question. You said, what was the last Sir Michael Stoute Derby winner? North Light, ? Please help with where you stand, anti-post Derby market, back Desert Crown or leave. Well, I don't think anybody from the comments they've made are rushing to back Desert Crown for the Derby market because they're not interested in this race either.
Well, I suppose if you fancy him to win this race, you should probably take his Derby price because he'll go shorter. So rather than back him at 2 or 3.0 today, you're getting, what is it, 7.0 to win the Derby.
He'll probably go favourite for the Derby if he wins it nicely.
Yeah. The winner, a good winner of this race normally does. Right, the 410 is the Westo Stakes, the last race we're previewing, and I haven't got the updated prices yet, so let me just get the selections from the guys first of all. So, Steve, you can kick us off with the 410 on Thursday.
Yeah, it always pays to get ahead. So I'm with Get Ahead, who's a unexposed filly who ran quite well on her return to action at Bath in a listed race when she was bumped at the start and she didn't get a great break and still managed to run quite nicely. So like if you go back to last season, she ran respectably in the Queen Mary and then presumably had a few issues because she came back after that was the last start of last year at Royal Ascot, and she came back at Kempton on the all-weather and then, like I say, ran at Bath quite nicely last time. So she's got more to come, I think, and that would make her dangerous.
Okay, I'm struggling for updated prices post-declaration. So please, if you're making your case, you're expecting a price, then by all means say it. Sam?
Yeah, not a race that I was particularly in love with. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of money for Project Dante, given the name and given that it was ready to win first time up at last year's meeting. I just played the tape back on King of Bavaria this morning and just thought he was very keen and fresh. And the stable had a few entries in this race, including the winner that day from when King of Bavaria was fourth, New York City. And they've chosen to run King of Bavaria. I just wonder, with that little bit of fizz and enthusiasm out of him from that Navan comeback, whether he might be a more ready model for Thursday afternoon. I think the strong pace and York will suit him ideally. He looks quite a buzzy horse with a bit of toe. I think better ground as well, better surface will suit him ideally. And I'll just take a little bit of a chance with him, but wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of money for Project Dante as well.
What did you want to add to Get Ahead, Dees?
Not much really. Just I backed her for 5 places at Ascot last year and she finished 6th. So, but yeah, no, as Steve said, look, she looked very good in debut. Ran a cracker in Queen Mary. Has had a few runs. Is fit. Like there was no prices for this, so it was hard to make a strong selection. But I think Clive Cox can bring her on a bit, and yeah, I'd be expecting her to be about 3rd or 4th in. So I'd be happy enough for that. All right, Best Lays, which have been going along very nicely of late. It's worth doing.
Well done. You've just bocked that then, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. But they've been doing very nicely. Okay, so Best Lays. First of all, Sam, you can kick us off. Who have I booked for you?
It was going to be Desert Crown at no bigger than 3.0, but as we can see, it's already starting to edge out. So no bigger than 3.25.
Okay, no bigger than the current price, 3.25. If shortens, maybe you'll go in again. Desert Crown and the Dante. DC?
Yeah, same as Sam. Jump on that bandwagon. Desert Crown.
Lovely. And Steve, you got one or no?
Yeah. Well, I haven't, because the race is so competitive and I don't like laying horses at prices. I like them to be verging on odds on around the sort of even money 5-4. So I couldn't find one. I'm sorry.
No, don't listen. Don't do it for the sake of it. That's fine. So we've got 2 shouts for Desert Crown, but at no bigger than 3.25 and 3.0. And best bets, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just jump straight in with mine because I do have one. And I was toying with putting Brunch up as my best bet. And then Sam made such a cogent case that I thought at that price, sorry, Sam, win and place. I think Brunch is a superb bet. I know he's £4 higher than last year in top weight, but Brunch is my best bet on the first 2 days of the Dante meeting. Sam, who's yours?
I'll go with Ravenscraig Castle in the last race at York. Good comeback at Ripon last time over 2. Good form in the Melrose here as well last year. Hopefully he'll run well in the last race.
Ravenscraig Castle. DC, your best bet?
It was very close to putting up Minzal, but I settled on Samburu because I think he should definitely win.
Okay, Samburu for you. And that's in the 4:10 on Wednesday. And Steve Jones.
First race Wednesday, Forza Orta.
Beautiful. God, it feels like ages ago we talked about that race. That's it. Don't forget to head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the best bets. And we will see you again on Thursday at 12:30 for a weekend preview. So it's non-stop action on the Matchbook Horse Racing podcast this week. From Steve, Sam, DC, myself, wish you all a very happy Dante meeting. Bye-bye.